Spokesperson and advisor for the Harris campaign, Adrian Elrod. Adrian, good to have you back on the show. I was moderating a discussion with Hillary Clinton last night, and obviously nobody knows more than her how things can change. We know how tenuous things can be running against a candidate like Donald Trump. We've been covering it. So with that in mind, what are the priorities for the Harris campaign in the final 5 days?
Well, look, in terms of what her priorities are, communicating to the American people, it's several things. Mika, you know, you saw her lay this out at the Ellipse, the very place where Donald Trump 4 years ago incited an insurrection. She, in turn, goes to the Ellipse and says, let me tell the American people how I'm going to fight for them. Here are my plans to lower prescription drug costs and overall costs for the American people. I'm going to do something to help the sandwich generation, those people who are taking care of aging parents and younger children. How is she going to help them? She laid that out. I'm going to help make it easier for American homeowners, to buy a home, people who are seeking to buy a home, to buy a home. She really laid out her vision. She also contrasted that with Trump. He wants to enact a national abortion ban. He wants to increase costs for American families with his Project 2025 agenda, which would raise costs by an average of $4,000 a year for middle-class families. She also talked about the fact that she wants to bring families together. She wants to bring Americans together, whether they voted for her or not. You've been hearing her talk a lot about that on the campaign trail. She wants to make it clear that she's fighting for every single American in this country, no matter who they voted for. That is irrelevant to her. She's going to wake up fighting for them. So she's really making that contrast. In terms of what our campaign is doing over the next 5 days, Mika, let me throw out some stats at you. Last weekend, our campaign volunteers, campaign staff knocked on 1.5 million doors in battleground states. We also made 15 million calls into both households who have said that they're going to vote for us and those who still need a little bit more persuasiveness. We're pounding the pavement. We've got surrogates out, well over 100 national surrogates out into battleground states every single day. Obviously, the vice president, Governor Walz, traveling to battleground states, doing multiple campaign rallies every single day. We are not leaving anything on the table. We want to use every single minute that we have left over the next 5 days to get the message out to the American people about what is at stake in this election. We are in the fight for our lives. We're in the fight for democracy. And also, the vice president has plans to improve the lives of every single American living in this country. So we want to make that contrast very clear. We want to show how she's fighting for the American people. And you're going to be hearing more and more about that as she really hones in on her final message in the last remaining days of this campaign.
I want to ask you about Joe Biden's use of the word garbage and what he meant versus what he said, because I thought it was actually the reaction to it was very telling, because Kamala Harris did something Donald Trump has never done. She just answers the question, validates, and then made a very good point about how she would lead Americans, all Americans, and also said that's not what he meant. We know where the word came from. It came from Donald Trump, came from his comedian at the MAGA rally at MSG that looked really creepy in a million different ways and frightening to a lot of people. And yet, on Fox News, this is on a loop for 24 hours, as if the word garbage had never been said before by Donald Trump, where it started. Even hosts saying, I will always remember the day where I was at the moment half the country was called garbage. I swear to God that was said with a straight face on Fox News. Could you answer back, please, to this hypocrisy?
Yeah, I mean, look, Mika, you and I could spend a long time dissecting how people are getting their information these days and how siloed, certain quote unquote media news outlets are. But the bottom line is, look, this is exactly why the vice president went to the Ellipse earlier this week and laid out her vision. Mika, 75,000 people in Washington, D.C. Think about that. 75,000 people came to hear her talk about what her vision is for the American people. So she's getting her message out there. We are using every means that we can in terms of, using our digital platforms here on the campaign, working with surrogates to use their digital platforms. We've had so many surrogates, so many people endorse over the last 5 days. Bad Bunny, of course, one of the most popular musicians in America, a very prominent Puerto Rican, endorsed to use his platform to talk about why he does not support Donald Trump and why he is supporting Kamala Harris. Jennifer Aniston just endorsed us yesterday on her Instagram account. She is followed by millions and millions of suburban women and men across this country. I mean, you could name, there are so many surrogates. We've had over 100 former Republican national security experts who have come out and endorsed the vice president. Over 300 Bush, McCain, Romney alums have endorsed the vice president. We talked about the 400 historians this morning who have endorsed the vice president. Everyone is using their platforms. It really feels like it's coming home in terms of the other voices, the surrogates that we have on this campaign who are supporting us. So she is doing everything she can to get her message out there. If there is a media outlet or two that is not going to really tell the truth to the American people, we are using every means that we can to overcome that so that everyone understands what's at stake in this election.
Just a few seconds
Adrian, we
left.
don't have much time, but you mentioned some of the Puerto Rican surrogates who have come out, these icons who have come out just this week. What are they saying about why they decided to endorse Kamala Harris in the aftermath of those atrocious comments at Madison Square Garden about Puerto Ricans?
Well, I think, Elise, they take very strong offense to their community being criticized. I mean, it's as simple as that. This is what Donald Trump does. Is there a constituency out there in this country that he has not criticized? He's criticized everyone. And you all have been, of course, talking about, the fact that he says he's going to fight for women. Well, we need to actually stay away from Trump. We need to be protected from Donald Trump when he says he wants to protect women. So it's as simple as that. I mean, if your constituency, if your community is criticized, you're going to stand up for that community. And, of course, Vice President Harris offers a vision for this country. So there's such a stark contrast there, and it's really wonderful to see so many people come out and really show their support for the vice president and their disdain for Donald Trump's comments and his divisive rhetoric.
Senior spokesperson and advisor for the Harris campaign, Adrienne Elrod, thank you very much for coming on this morning. We appreciate it. All right, take care. Coming up, both liberal and conservative experts have dismissed Donald Trump's economic policy plans as economically destructive. Now, one of the former president's biggest supporters is agreeing with them. Plus, a number of U.S. news outlets are declining to endorse a presidential candidate ahead of next week's election. But this morning, one major British publication is stepping in to fill that gap. CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin will have those details for you straight ahead.